Welcome to the Becoming a Principal podcast, a podcast for aspiring educational leaders. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Matt. We are high school administrators in Ontario, Canada, and we're excited to share our experiences with you. This podcast is designed to provide inspiration and support for educators considering leadership roles. We plan to discuss a range of topics related to educational leadership to help you on your journey to become and thrive as a school leader.
How you doing today, Matt?
Pretty good. End of August. Hey?
Yeah, feeling good. Summer's been pretty good.
Yeah, can't complain about that.
Feeling relaxed, a little rejuvenated maybe.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Also, I know you spent some time outdoors, which is wonderful.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. Hey, get the kids out of the house, try to get some fresh air myself, right?
Nice. And that's always the goal. It doesn't always work out that way for me, but I try.
Yeah,
How about your home projects?
There's still a list.
Yeah,
Working on it.
I got a list too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're just going to take some Q&A questions that we got from our Instagram page. And we do want to thank people for listening because we do have some people that have listened. And it's not just my mom. I did, I don't know if I did tell her about it, but she hasn't listened yet. But some other people have.
Hey, what's our handle again? What's the IG handle there?
It's Becoming a Principal podcast.
There you go.
Okay, good. Good. You're getting good at this, Matt.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we did a few Q&A kind of style questions we put out to our Instagram followers, and we just looking for some feedback for the podcast. And there's some questions that came forward, and we decided today we'll make a bit of a Q&A episode from some of the messages that we got in our DMs from our Instagram page. You ready to go with this, Matt?
Yeah, let's talk about some of these. These are good ones.
All right. So you want to start off, or I'll start off? How about I start off?
Okay, sure.
I'll ask you the first question. So one of our listeners wrote into us. They said that they're following more for their spouse, and they're saying that the spouse is someone who is terrified of giving up the classroom and isn't quite sure he's ready to do so. And they've been pretty open about that with their peers. Their question is there anything that we would suggest as a middle point, perhaps any courses, books, volunteer options, committees that would assist with exposure to leadership opportunities?
Now, I'm guessing this gives you like more experience, right? That's what they mean by exposure, right?
I would agree. More leadership experience.
Yeah. And again, I don't know like what panel you're coming from, if it's elementary or secondary, but I think there's leadership opportunities in both. Honestly, I think it's a valuable experience to go and seek those out rather than just going straight into an administrator role. And I think it might even be difficult to do, right? Like without having those leadership opportunities as a teacher. But, there's lots of chance for those opportunities for us. Thinking about coaching, right? That's a big one.
It's a huge one. Where,
all the things that go into that, managing players and parents and schedules and, busing and all that. But like another big one I think about is formal leadership in a school, like becoming a program head in secondary or becoming a division lead in elementary, if that's how your school is structured. And then the thing I think about too is when our school board or your school board puts out a call for committee members, really jumping on that opportunity to try to get into a committee and seeing how things operate, not just at the board level, but other schools, hearing different perspectives, and you're connecting with different people then and learning, learning new insight. And if that's not the case, I really think about reaching out to those people who run the committee, saying that you're interested, whatever that might be, figuring out, is your superintendent running it? Is a principal running it? Is there a consultant running that? And just saying, just writing them an email and expressing your interest to get in there. And I think that works out really well for people who do that. They generally would allow that. They're always looking for more people and new ideas. So I think that'd be a great idea.
That's great. I think joining committees is a wonderful place to start. It's kind of a low risk way to kind of get involved in some maybe leadership activities in a school. But I would also say I loved what you said about coaching as well. It gives you a chance to manage something quite different than maybe a regular classroom. But in addition to that, when Matt's talking about committees, I would say think about things that are, leading adults or working with adults, maybe more so than just students, because if you're going to transition to a role of administrator at some point and you want to kind of try that on for size, a lot of it is leading adults, working with adults, learning with adults, and that's very different than leading students. And I can admit that I've definitely had that experience of making that transition from leading my class of students or leading my team to leading my peers and other fellow professionals. And that's a big shift. So anytime you can get experience doing that, that will give you a bit of a taste of what it's like in an administrative seat. What do you think about that, Matt?
Yeah, that's excellent. And just to add even to that, there's something to be said where you're reaching out and you're finding your passion and leading in a different way related to the thing that you're interested in versus picking something that's out of your comfort zone and learning a new set of skills that way too, and joining a committee or working with a group of people in your school on something that you don't really know much about, but you're happy to learn more about, because that's what's going to happen as an administrator, right? You're going to be put in different situations where you don't really have that knowledge base, but you're going to lean on different people anyway. And it's just all about growing what you know about leading a school and leading people, and finding low risk opportunities for you to do that. Okay, let's move on.
Thanks for the question.
So Jordan, it would be interesting to hear how it was transitioning from being a teacher, and you're friendly with your fellow teachers, or you have a good relationship with the people you worked with, now to an administrator role. How did you find it? Was that an easy thing to do? Was it difficult? And what are some suggestions you have to make that transition easier?
Okay, so thank you.
So we're talking about colleagues, working with your colleagues.
Yeah, so thank you for that question for one of our listeners there. And truthfully, it's not an easy transition. The context is very specific to where you're working. A lot of our roles, when we do change roles, it involves moving a school. And anytime you move, it's also different. It becomes a different workplace. So while we're still in the same organization, our day-to-day interactions could be with new people. So I would say it depends on the context in which you get appointed to a role. So leaving a school is very different than taking on a new position in a school. And they both have their pros and cons and different challenges, I would say. And I've experienced both. But at the end of the day, I think that if you are collegial with as a teacher, if you were collegial, but, still kept the business at hand at the forefront and people knew that about you, you're not going to change all that much. It shouldn't be a dramatic change in your personality, your tone, your approach. I mean, obviously you're going to grow, and we're all going to grow, and we're going to change. But there shouldn't be a drastic shift once that you step into a new role. It should be quite similar. But navigating those relationships is more difficult now, because you did have kind of maybe a friendly relationship with someone, and now you, for lack of a better term, you're their boss, or you're responsible for their program area, or now you're responsible for the school that they work in. Obviously, the relationship is going to change, and hopefully you haven't. You're able to be still that person you were, and then hopefully you have people that understand that your role has changed. And a lot of times we do have to act out of our role despite the circumstance. So we got to act as our role. So our responses to certain things are coming from our role and our position more than sometimes who we are as a person, or what people might think about who we are, or what they know us to be. And for the most part, I've been fortunate enough that people that I've been collegial with or friendly with prior to, they understand that I'm in a new role, and knowing that will mean I need to operate slightly differently, knowing I'm still the same person, but that my lens is going to be a bit different now, that I'm say a supervisor for someone instead. So I don't know, how has it changed for you, Matt? I know that you spent a lot of time in the school that we're at now, and now you're coming back to the school in a very different role. How has that been for you?
I agree with everything you said there. Being a teacher at that school for 8 years and a program head, and then leaving for 2 to work at the board office, and then returning, I knew a lot of the same people. Obviously, there hasn't been that much change in our school, although there are a lot of fresh faces last year. And I gotta be honest, there were awkward times for sure, where, like you said, you're a colleague 1 minute, and then the next minute you have a different lens and you have a different role in the school. But I would say it was easier when I had a good relationship with people to have conversations, and you're just staying true to yourself, and they know who you are, and they expect you to act a certain way too, not deviate from how they know you, but you still stay true to those core values. And I think, when you have to have conversations that you think are going to be difficult in the beginning, and then once you have them, you just realize like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And people just continue to respect you and your role in the school. I think it goes a lot smoother than what you think it was going to go.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it's just the initial tough conversation that you think it's going to be, and it ends up not being so bad. But at the end of the day, you're hoping that people are receptive to it because you built some trust.
Yeah.
And you can have that candid conversation to say, listen, like, I know this is how it kind of was maybe before, but now this is our vision and mission that we kind of got to follow through on and make good on. And how can we kind of help each other with that? And I guess really it is based on trust and establishing that trust. And if you feel like trust has been broken or needs to be repaired, that you need to go and work at that. And sometimes it does require some work in some cases. So I don't know if you've had experience with that.
Well, no, it's just like, again, it's just relationship building. Again, like I think the easiest conversations that you have with people are the people you have relationships with. So being in a school our size, with over 100 staff, it's just being in this role now, I have an opportunity to get to know more people and develop a relationship with more people. I see more of the school and really the great things that are happening because you're out of just your program area. And now when you've done that and more people know you and what you're about, it's easier to have those conversations because, again, I think this role is all about relationships. And when you have that in place, then things go much more smoothly than somebody who doesn't really know what you're about or, who's still trying to feel you out. We're trying to move past that at that point, right?
Yeah, and all this to say that things still can go sideways, right?
For sure.
You and I, we just accuse ourselves of being like painting very rosy pictures because we seem to like our job a lot. However,
we do have a podcast now.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, so that's true. I guess we must like it enough to try and promote this role to people. But it can go sideways, and you might have to have a tough conversation that might not sit well with people, and it might not sort itself out as quickly as you want it to. You might feel like, oh, if I just have this conversation, it's going to be all good. It might not work out that way. You might have the conversation. It might take a few days, some time for people to reflect. And then hopefully by the end it is okay. But you have to sit with that uncertainty more, probably in this role than you did as like a collegial person that was on the same team or same level as a teacher. Yeah.
It's good to mention too that you're not in this alone either. Maybe you have to have that conversation and you have to be the one to go and have it. But, to bounce ideas first and plan it out and think about what you're going to say and then to share that with like your administration team, things go much more smoothly too, right? When you're prepared and ready to have that conversation.
Absolutely. All right. So the next question we're going to go to is from one of our listeners who says, maybe include in an episode some must-read books for a VP principal in their first year, or any podcast recommendations for the drive into work. I'll let Matt go for that.
So my big thing too is really thinking about how, as a school leader, you influence programming and pedagogy in the building, because it's all about student achievement and engagement for me. So I think about some of the work that Fullen's done. And, I have a feeling if you've read a couple of his books, you've kind of read them all. They all have a similar feel to them.
Fullen Fatigue?
Yeah, they have a similar feel to them, right?
I like him, though.
Is that fair? I enjoy him, too. So a couple that I would say is Principle 2.0 or Spirit Work and the Science of Collaboration. I feel like that prepares you to think about that role and the impact that you have on people that you're working with and students as well. I think it's important to, have a good sense of pedagogy and what pedagogy is working out there. And, there's a lot of books on that. I don't want to direct people in a certain way, but just thinking about, collective efficacy or anything that's going to really help you influence the classroom. I think, that's important to have. And then not a requirement, but kind of a desired asset in our school board. Like if you've done your master's and just leaning on some of that work, if you've had time for it and, the financial ability to go ahead and do that, I think that's been all valuable for me. And then the last thing I'm a big podcaster in my drive into work. You're going to talk about some podcasts that you've recommended to me, but I just think about, some of the other passions that you might have and connecting that with how you can lead a school. So I think about the Glass and Out podcast. It's a hockey coaches podcast.
Nice.
And I just think about a lot of the work that they're talking about. Again, it's about developing strong coaches, which a lot of that is transferable into a leadership role. So yeah, I love listening to that. It helps me in other roles that I have in the community, but thinking about, I can really build this into my own practice as a school leader.
Awesome. Great recommendations. I know we go back and forth on these a lot ourselves. And the question is, must-read books for VP or principal in their first year. Like Matt said, I don't know if there's any must-reads, but there are a lot of good reads out there. And sometimes, Matt made mention to me earlier before we were recording that he was so kind of caught up in the challenge of actually getting started as a vice principal.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that
we talked about that.
You kind of shied away from the reading. Just like kind of the reason we're doing this podcast is like fighting against the trap of getting so caught up in your work. This is getting us out of our head to actually reflect on what we're doing. Same thing with reading. I notice there's times where I'm like, I just don't end up reading because I'm so consumed with the work I'm doing. But I find when I'm reading, I'm better. I don't know about you, but
absolutely,
I'm much better. So kind of like us reflecting here. So the ones that I would share that, if you're thinking if you're going into a leadership position, especially VP or principal, one I just read this summer is High Road Leadership by John C. Maxwell. I talked about him before on the podcast, but just a great overall leader with a Christian background as well, as being a minister in a Christian church is his background, but also as a business leader as well. It's just talking about bringing people together in a world that is dividing us. It's a really great read about getting people on the same page and just evaluating your daily actions and to see if you're actually, taking the high road in areas where you need to. And, that book is a great foundation for anyone getting into a leadership role. As far as podcasts, one podcast I'm really into right now is the Ed Mylett Show. Ed Mylett is pretty much like a motivational speaker. You might have heard of him anyway, but what I find is beneficial from that podcast is really pushing through resistance, trusting yourself, building systems for yourself to persevere and not letting things kind of get in the way of your dreams or your vision. And just, it's really about personal development, which I find fascinating and continue to do as we go through in our roles here as school administrators. And then the last one I mentioned to Matt in the past is called Coaching for Leaders. It's Coaching for Leaders podcast. It's not specific to education, but it talks a lot about systems and things leaders can do to help support their teams and to kind of get their own stuff in order to make sure they're being the best that they can be for the people that they serve. So those are my recommendations. Again, they're not like, must reads, but they've been great reads and great listens for myself.
And the Becoming a Principal podcast.
Oh yeah, that's not bad. So that one's okay.
There you go.
All right, I think we're gonna wrap this one up.
Yep.
Go ahead, man.
Hey, nice to be back.
Yeah,
hey.
Awesome.
All right, thank you for listening to the Becoming a Principal podcast. We're grateful for the time you spent with us, and we hope that this has been helpful to you in some way. Be sure to check out our Instagram at Becoming a Principal podcast. Have a great day.
Have a great day.